Hey everyone, Joey here, and today we're going to do my final review on the Abxylute S8 telescopic controller, which is this cool little device right here. Now, I had an advanced first look video about a month or so ago on this, and that was an engineering sample. And from that video, there was still a list of things to be changed with the final retail product, and that's what I have here today. Before we jump into what has changed and what is new between these two, let's talk about the specs first. This starts at $55 US right off of Abxylute's website, and one of the biggest selling points here is the ability to use this with the Nintendo Switch 2. Of course, you can still use it with Android and iPhone and tablets and phones and all of that like it's meant to be used, but the Switch 2 compatibility is one of the big features. Now, the maximum width is 216 millimeters. That's how far it stretches, which does mean that the Lenovo Y700 does fit in here, as well as some other larger devices that you normally wouldn't have in here. So right off the bat, let's go through and see what all has changed between the engineering sample and the final product here. First up is the improvements to the ABXY buttons, and this is a massive improvement. On the engineering sample, the buttons would bottom out and they were way too soft. It didn't take any pressure at all to push them down. These new buttons have a lot better tactile feel and more normal amounts of effort to use. They are now just normal buttons and I have no issues at all with them. They feel good, they push down well, no issues on my end. Next up is the D-pad, and on the sample, the D-pad took way too much effort to push down. It was way too stiff, the complete opposite problem of the buttons. And the retail unit is an improvement, but I still think it requires a bit too much force. It is an accurate D-pad, don't get me wrong, but the force needed is still maybe just a bit too much, in my opinion, but I don't think it's anything too crazy, just a minor nitpick. Now, something new with this retail unit is the swappable D-pad. It can just pop right out of the socket, and you can insert the new D-pad, and I think I prefer the old one better, but you do have the option either way. So if you want to use this new disc-style D-pad, then you can. If you want to use the cross-style D-pad, you can do that. So you have options. Those were my main issues from the last video, and they were fixed right away. So we are on the right track here. Now, my only other concern was the triggers, because they were not hitting 100% and they weren't activating early enough. This was solved with a firmware update after my last video, and they are solved here with the retail unit as well. Yeah, it's great. So those were all of my complaints. They are all fixed here. This makes it a really good purchase. Now, for everybody else who maybe didn't watch that video and wants a refresher on why this is pretty good and why I like it, let's talk about that now. First, it is the compatible modes. There is X input, HID input, NS mode, and PS mode, as well as virtual mapping. X input is mostly used for streaming like Xbox Game Pass, Artemis or Moonlight, XP Play, things like that. I have absolutely no idea what HID input is used for, to be quite honest, but it's there. NS mode would be for Nintendo layout for emulators, or the Switch 1, Switch 2 compatibility. PS mode is used for the official PlayStation Remote Play app, or if you want to use PX Play, since it's better anyways. Now, I wasn't able to test the virtual mapping with the sample in the last video, but I can test it now for retail. I'm going to be using Genshin Impact as a test game, even though it does have controller support, mostly because I couldn't think of another game that doesn't have controller support, so let's just do this. You just need to make sure that your S8 is connected to the app, then add your game to that actual app, press start on the game, choose operating mode, select mapping mode, and confirm, and then turn on the permission. Then, when you're in game, you can just tap the floating icon for the buttons and drag them wherever you need to. There is a lot more that you can do if you need to, and Abxylute has a full tutorial on YouTube on how to walk you through virtual mapping if you need some more information. Now, as a quick reminder, this is a Bluetooth telescopic controller, so there is no USB-C here except to charge the actual controller. Now, one of my favorite parts about this controller is the weight, and that did change slightly from the sample, which was 249 grams, and now it is 256 grams. Now, given how light this is, it is especially nice if you are going to use it with a Switch 2, because the Switch 2 is already heavy to begin with, and so having less weight is always good. You can really feel the difference compared to something like the GameSir G8 Plus, which weighs 314 grams. It's a lot more. But to me, this is a nice pairing, the Switch 2 and the Abxylute S8. I feel like this is the best combination for handheld mode right now. And I do want to correct something from my last video. You can, in fact, adjust the vibration modes using a hotkey of the M button and the D-pad up and down. You will especially need to adjust these vibrations if you are going to use it on the Switch 2 and you plan on playing some Donkey Kong Bonanza, because it gets a little bit too high and it gets crazy. So just remember that hotkey for adjusting it. But the Abxylute S8 has a lot of benefits here. There is the full-sized Hall Effect sticks, micro switch D-pad, good buttons, good shoulders, Hall Effect linear triggers, and the entire thing just feels comfortable to use and hold. I did a video using the G8 Plus with my Samsung Galaxy Fold 7, and I think this is actually a better fit than that was. I was kind of waiting for this retail unit because one of the things I did want to see fixed that would help with Switch 2 usage, as well as anything else, is the clamping down force. So this is the retail unit, and I have to use some effort to pull this apart, and then it'll snap back. It's a nice amount of effort, and it feels good. On the engineering sample, it was very loose, and it was barely anything. So that was also a complaint that they fixed here. Honestly, they kind of nailed every complaint that I had, including the clamping down force, which you don't want to be too much, but you also don't want it to be too little. And I find here that they have the right amount of force for making sure your device stays in place. I know, it is difficult for me to do this video, given how in-depth I did the last video, but we have to cover a few points from that last video today as well. Now, feature-wise, it does have vibration, of course, we talked about that earlier. It does have 6-axis gyro support and turbo support. Now again, I am not a person that typically uses these features, but Call of Duty Mobile seemed to work with gyro just fine, and this isn't something that I have a lot of experience with, but it seems like it works. We looked at it before, but Abxylute does have a full app on Android and iOS that acts as a launcher as well as a way to configure the controller. You can add games through it. It'll also find any games that you have installed and so on. It also has Game Pass support, which is always nice. One thing that didn't work with the sample, but does work now, is being able to configure the controller in the app. So you can go ahead and remap buttons if you want, as well as set up macros. You can adjust the motion and gyro sensitivity and settings. You can play with the stick dead zones if they're not to your liking. You can also do the same thing with the trigger dead zones. And then you can adjust the stick sensitivity as well. There is also a section to update the firmware of the controller, which you should always be doing. Lastly, you can do button testing in the app to make sure that it sees everything and all of it works and there isn't any issues. Then there is also a calibration option, but that isn't working as of yet. All in all, the app seems pretty polished, it works well, and it could be a nice way to just use an easy front end for all of your Android games and other things. I don't have really much else to say here. It's a quick and easy review for me to do. Abxylute kind of took all of my feedback from the last video, implemented it, and now you have a fantastic telescopic controller at $55 US. So yeah, you're not breaking the bank. You're getting a really good controller, has really good compatibility. Everything works as it should. I don't have much else to say here. Again, I really like the fact that it is really light. That is one of my main things here that I really enjoy. And I like the controls. Now, again, D-pad for me, a little too stiff still, but I think most people can get used to it, probably get used to it over time. I don't know. That's my only real complaint still, but otherwise it is kind of a nitpick and not a real complaint. It is still very accurate. Just when I look at my D-pads and the D-pads I like, they're a lot softer, they're a lot easier to push down. That's kind of what I like, but it is a micro switch D-pad, so you get what you get. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today. So let me know in the comments below, are you still in a market for a telescopic controller? If so, is this catching your eye? Is this something you're looking at? Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro gaming. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff, and hope you all have a good one.